house guests have not seen me with a fire lit in my belly.
And Todrick's strategic game.
All right, I want to say a big thank you to all of the celebrity house guests for an amazing, amazing season of the show.
That's Ginger.
Yes, that's right. We are here live, Super Mader Bros podcasting, covering another series of episodes here of Celebrity Big Brother 3. I'm your host, Jeff Mader, joined as always by my brother, Dave Mader. Dave, how are you?
I'm doing good, Jeff. How are you?
I'm great. And also, as joined as always by Jaemeel Robinson, the Funko of all Funkos himself.
Funko,
how are you?
Funkos.
I'm all right. I'm low key having my Cynthia game, so wait, what's going on? I'm in a game?
You know where you are?
Where am I?
You're just happy you're here.
I'm just happy to be here.
Well, Don't worry. You have a 1 in 3 chance of getting a question right, just like Cynthia.
Oh man, that was a painful final HOH competition where it's like sometimes it's too easy. Tonight it was too hard.
No, the players just sucked. That was if that was regular Big Brother, it would have been like 6-6. Because they do have more time. I'll give them that. But at the same time,
it was like nobody got it right. Moving on, and then it was like finally nobody got it right like 4 times in a row, and then doesn't even matter. Misha, you win anyway.
Well, that's right. Misha. Okay, so I have a few things to kind of break down here. I thought Todrick was going to put up a bigger fight here in the jury, but now that I kind of realize, I think he burned a lot of bridges. I think he played a Paul Abrahamian type game here. Good enough to make it to the final, to kind of like but not good enough to get any real votes other than Cynthia, who really didn't know where she was. She was kind of the Christmas vote.
I disagree. I disagree altogether. He played the Russell Hansius game I have ever seen. It's like,
right,
hey, Russell Hans, you're gonna play your game and get to the end, but in this case, instead of Eric showing up to expose yourself and kind of turn everyone against you towards Natalie, you dummy forgot that every single person you talk smack about and consistently talk smack about is gonna just go home and watch you continue talking smack. You thought that was a winning move? Like, duh.
Yeah, like for instance, like the whole thing that he said, like that happened between him and Chris Kirkpatrick was like kind of over the line and not smart.
Yes.
With his whole
way over the top. Although it's not unprecedented, right? Like we've seen this kind of like over the top dramatic approach to like certain relationships in the house. And I think like Todrick as this super fan was like, I am going for it. This is what it takes. You got to go like Frankie Grande on steroids, and this is what I'm doing. And I'm going to sort of like lay this super guilt trip on you. And Chris Kirkpatrick's like, what the hell is happening? Yeah. What the heck is going on? Like, I'm trying to level with this guy. I think he's a reasonable human being, but right now I feel like I'm talking to a different person. And so like Todrick was sort of immersed in the role. He's method, Jeff.
Method, but he's trying to play like Russell Hantz heroes versus villains. And it's not everybody's Rupert.
Well, like, do you guys feel like any sort of connection to Todrick or sympathy towards him, that he's kind of like just the fan who happens to be a celebrity and he got this chance and he really lived it?
Hold on. He is not a fan. He is not a fan.
Why?
Okay, he's a fan in a sense that he knows people who were on the show, was going to be cast and started watching the show, right? And I don't know what his casting process is. That's a little bit murky. But him talking about being a super fan, if he's such a super fan, did he not know about what happens when juries aren't in sequester? Right?
Possibly not.
Right. Right. That's a good point, because I think he might have fared better here had there there been a sequestered jury. Like if he played the regular version of Big Brother, I think he definitely makes us a way closer vote.
Yes, because it would just be Shanna's word against Todrick's, and Todrick can't defend himself in in a jury house. And Carson was so snowed that he's gonna be like, well, Todrick, believe me, will agree to disagree, and he would have just played peace and just not want to talk about it. That's what would have happened. But he was able to get actual proof from people he trusted in his network and was immediately able to expose it. Todd, right? Lamar was outside the house for 40 seconds and put a tweet blasting Todrick. All right.
Yeah.
So
well, yes, he definitely played like a very cutthroat game and almost like very unnecessarily ISO. Like he was definitely the like that's why I think Misha kind of took a landslide victory here, because she played a very cordial game, beasted out the competitions. I don't think she really made any enemies other than that she was a threat, which is what you kind of want to be. That's just to me being respected.
As long as you win, it's fine.
Yeah, it's to me being respected, right? And for her to get to the end of the game, she definitely earned it. Whereas Todrick kind of slimed his way to the end of the game in a lot of ways. And I don't think people respect that. And
singer, dancer, YouTuber, Todrick Hall.
Right. He was definitely more entertaining on the show, though. And I think that's why I'm sure a lot of people were like, huh? Why did Misha get all the votes or whatever, other than Cynthia, whose vote, I mean...
I feel like there's a disparity here between the TV audience and the live feed audience, especially on Todrick, because I feel like if you're just watching the show and you're just saying well, Todrick was just trying his best and was just playing, and there's not all this sort of negative talk discussed. But then we saw here Todd Bridges gets up here tonight on his vote and says, I was all cool and copacetic until I saw those live feeds and you guys crossed the line or something along those lines. And he's saying that it's not cool, and he ends up casting his vote for Misha, which seems to be saying that he lays a lot of that at the feet of Todrick.
Yeah, I think Todrick was bringing also out the worst in Misha in certain instances, and I think they definitely didn't want those two to be in the final two, but if they were, it was going to go to Misha. And I do think there's something to be said that Cynthia was sequestered, didn't really get to hear all the things that every other jury member, and she voted for Todrick. So I do think Todrick would have gotten votes had it been a sequestered jury.
She was also on the opposite side of Carson. I bet if Carson was right beside her, he would have tugged at her and was like, don't vote for him at all.
Right. Yeah, I think that's probably true. And even Todd said when he got eliminated that he would probably vote for Todrick, and he ended up voting for Misha here. So I think that this is all very interesting, because I think Todrick watched way too much of the regular Big Brother and did not watch Celebrity Big Brother at all. And he tried to play the Dan Giesling, those type of cutthroat games. And you can't do that in Celebrity Big Brother. It doesn't work that way, but it is more entertaining as a fan. I will say that. Let me move on a little bit here to kind of let's talk quickly about the America's favorite player being Carson. Did you guys kind of agree with that? Dave, I'll go over to you.
I would have to say I do. That I think that Carson, was a very entertaining house guest this season. I think whether or not you respect his gameplay, I think that he was just sort of a nice bright light here. Very cheerful. I think that he's very charismatic. I thought he brought a lot of positivity to things. I thought a lot of his DR sessions were endearing and sort of memorable. And so I was happy to kind of see him win this tonight. Who else was more deserving?
I thought Shayna kind of, to me, I wasn't surprised to see her in the top three, because once she was mentioned, I was like, oh, you know what? She probably deserved the America's favorite player the most, just for me as
I would have been nice too. I'm not to take from Shayna.
No, Shayna need to win. You know why, Dave? You know why, Mr. Todrick Hans? Because it would rub more dirt in Todrick's eye. Honestly, I didn't care if Shayna win. I just wanted Todrick to lose.
Right.
I wanted this dude to be dragged, and you know what? This finale came up a little short because I didn't see. I wanted to see some Puff the Magic Dragon. I wanted to see this man dragged, Aaron Grimes dragged, right?
Yeah.
That's what I wanted to see.
I think that was sort of the unsatisfying part of the finale tonight, is that we don't see Todrick sort of like have his comeuppings kind of in like a Paul Abrahamian way, where, you know, it's like, oh my God, Josh is going to win. I can't believe it. You know, like I like the realization, especially in when Josh won, right? Like it was just like, oh no, I've done it again. I've made the wrong move. I've taken the wrong person to the final two.
If Cynthia got to the end, she would have beat Todrick, and he would have had that moment.
So, referring to what Jaemeel was saying earlier about Lamar Odom on Twitter, I just want to read quickly what he wrote after he got out of the house. He said, "So I was booted off at Big Brother CBS by my fake friend Todrick. He should have been a bit more strategic, as he must have forgotten I get a jury vote for the winner. I still need you all to vote for me for fan favorite. Text Lamar to blah, 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 from your mobile device." And then just people were, applauding that. And we're like, okay, like Meta World Peace applauded it, and Gina Rodriguez. So that gives you, I think, a little bit of insight to how people felt once they started watching his game. And I do think there's that is true. Like the attitude, like people are baffled by his attitude. And I think it is very interesting because like just thinking back to the Christopher Kirkpatrick thing, like, and what he said to Misha at the end, where it's like, oh, if everyone was just more like you and me, and and went along to get along, and I'm like, you didn't do that at all. Like, like I was like, I get, like, I agree with what you're saying, but at the same time, like, practice what you preach.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yep.
So what were you guys like left with, like a general taste in your mouth after the season? Like, how, are you feeling good about it? Are you feeling sort of like neutral or even negative about it? Or
here's the ultimate problem I had with this season, and why I have hope for next season, is because in the grand scheme of things, minus the people who did not know what show they were on, right? We got one half of the equation. We had a villain that everyone hated. Everyone hated. Everyone wanted to see lose. We just never got someone on the opposite side. That was the only issue with this season. If we did, and it was Misha and Todrick on opposite ends, right? It would have been a fantastic season.
It was kind of like Evil Lynn won, but Skeletor didn't. But, it's still like, the bad guys won.
So the equations there, they just need to rejig the numbers a little bit. I'm excited for next season of Celebrity Big Brother, because it's fast, it's quick, and you can just see how much people care about the season. If people didn't care, you wouldn't have heard anything about Todrick. People would just roll their eyes and moved on. People care.
Yeah, I think I was way more invested in this season of Celebrity Big Brother than it was, especially the last season. And I
was
just
the season before that.
Yeah, the season before that was like the first one, so it was a little bit more new and kind of, what is this? This last season I didn't really like, but this season I agree with Jaemeel was saying. Like, they had their villain character, and Todrick was great on the show. Like, he was.
Do you feel like they presented him as a villain on the show?
I think they tried to. Yeah, I think they definitely made him unlikable as far as in the DR, but he was still like endearing. Like, he was still like, he was good at being entertaining.
Right. And he was allied with Misha, who I don't think they were trying to ever present Misha as a villain.
No, and I don't think
she's just a beast. That's it.
Yeah, I don't think she deserved to be a villain. I don't think she did anything.
But
that
she's
was
like her connection with Todrick, I think, is sort of intrinsic. Like, you can't sort of separate one from the other.
Yeah, but you can, as far as like their attitude and their personality, right? Yes, they were teamed up, but they were very different ways of going about the game, I thought.
Dave, simple question. Did anyone try to separate Misha and Todrick?
No.
Try to separate them? No, I don't think so.
Right
no.
then and there, you realize that there was no real other side of the house. As simple as that.
Yeah, and it really came down to that one moment where Todrick kind of got convinced Carson that Shayna needed to go home. That was like the fork in the road of the season. And Carson and Cynthia chose the wrong fork. It in a big bad way, and so like as much as like what Carson said, oh, I'm sorry, Shayna, like and he should be or whatever, but like he should be just mad at himself for like letting Todrick get that over on him, and I think Carson was a great TV character, but I just don't think he was seasoned enough in the game to realize that was bullshit coming his way. And I think if a regular season of Big Brother, they would have sifted that out almost immediately.
Right. So you're saying these celebrities are dumb?
Yeah, they're bad. They're bad. Well, they're bad Big Brother players because yes, it is quicker and they have less time to think about it. But at the same time, like they just kind of like take things on face value too much. They're a little naive as far as Big Brother players, I would say, not dumb.
Yeah, I agree.
Go ahead.
Sorry. Well, I agree with Jeff to an extent. I think that these that it's kind of like the celebrity Big Brother is a whole other animal. However, I think that in the case of like Misha and Todrick and watching their duo like sort of dominate through the last third of this game, I think I was left with the feeling like they're like, what's the difference between Todrick and Misha and any other Big Brother player? Like, yes, Misha's a UFC fighter and Todrick gets up on stage, but like that's just like their jobs, like anybody else on Big Brother. Like they have most Big Brother players these days are Instagram models or something of that nature, and so like they were just kind of playing it like any any two other players you'd watch in Big Brother. You could put Misha, I think, and Todrick for that matter, in any other season of Big Brother, and I think that they would do fine. I don't think they would have as easy of a time because I think there would be more like hunger and more competitive players they would have to be contending with than they had to do here, right? They had to navigate Lamar, who barely knows where he is. Who's Julie? Who's Julie?
He didn't even know that the diary room got put on TV.
He didn't even know the diary room put on TV. However, the whole recap episode, I have to give some commendations to Lamar where, he was just like, there's no way that you losers, assuming you got voted out before me, should decide if I win the money or not. Like, that should be like sort of based on competitions or something like that. And the whole idea of like the jury, a bunch of losers, gets to decide who the winner is.
That is so how a pro athlete would view it,
Yeah.
And even when he did his exit interview with Julie, he was just like, I just came out here, gave it 100%, 10%. I'm like, this isn't post game of the Lakers locker room.
Did he start sweating?
Yeah. He had a towel. Someone brought him a towel. He started wiping his face.
Put over his neck.
Because I was pulling for Lamar, and then they voted him out a couple days ago.
I wish Lamar was pulling for Lamar because
yeah, I was only pulling for Todd, guys. Like at a certain point, I was just going for Todd, and then when he when it was the final four HOH, and it was like Todd had 2 and Cynthia had 2 and Misha only had 1. I'm like, oh my god, it's gonna happen. Like Todrick and Misha are gonna get broken up here, and then they shart the bed real hard after that.
You guys did not think that Todd Bridges came to play.
I thought you came to play, but I thought you were way too quick on the draw on those movies there, Todd.
Bridges came to play.
I thought he was my favorite person on the show, guys. Let's talk a little bit about Todd, because he wasn't having any of the formalities of the game. He wasn't he was
like the old craggy guy who didn't give a shit.
I loved it. He would just walk in there, evict Shayna, He'd be like, I'm popping vote for Todrick.
Be done.
Yeah. He gave 0 fucks about anything Julie wanted or the production.
He's like, I'm not doing any shout outs, so just evict her.
Evict Shayna.
There was one time he said evict before Julie even asked him. Like he walked in and said evict Shayna or whatever. And it was like, all right, and who are you voted out, Todd? He was like,
didn't he say one night, didn't he do the whole a Big D thing where I vote to evict or something, where you don't even say I vote to evict. It's like I evict to a vote or something like that.
I vote to evict or something is what they, yeah.
Hey, you got it right the next time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's not that hard. I vote to evict. It's 4 words.
No, it's the lights are on and the pressure. You sit down and you kind of have to wait. Like you're waiting for this screen to talk to you, whatever. I can understand the discomfort right? So
yeah, I agree with you. I see what you're saying.
Can I segue to another big question here I had about this finale?
Go for it.
Was Chris Kattan, who
Mhm.
walked out on the game, what was it? Day 15.
Yeah.
So, he could have this game only went to day 29. So we were only asking for 14 more days or so, right? Not even quite. So like Chris Kattan, he wasn't allowed to vote, or he didn't vote here in this finale.
Wasn't allowed.
But they did this whole thing like, if there's a tie, America's vote will cast the vote. But ultimately, Misha wins this in a landslide. So it feels like kind of like they wasted a lot of time on that.
they had to, just in case. They
I know, but it was just like, why couldn't Chris Kattan just vote? Was it?
I think production was mad at him.
Or he said he didn't want to vote.
But he showed up here at the finale. Like, let him vote.
Oh, he was there?
Yeah, he was there.
Oh, that makes sense.
Dave, did I not say he was going to be there?
You did say he was going to be. I was a bit surprised. Like, it was kind of like if he's there. To me, it was like if he shows up, they'll have him vote.
You know what? That might be in the rules. Like before they even sign on, if you leave the house, you won't vote. Like that might be a thing that they just put in the contract, and like that's just the rule. And so if you
I'm a
leave,
little confused with what's going on.
If you leave without being actually voted out, like you're done. Like you don't get a vote for the.
I'm a little bit wigged out.
Yeah, and like let's face it, Dave. They ran out of cake, and without that cake, there was no reason for Chris Kattan to stick around.
That's how he got on stage. They put like little things of cake, and then he eventually came out of his cave. He sat down, he ate the cake, and then the cake was done. And then they're like, Chris Kattan is here. And he's like, hi. And then next time the cameras cut away, he's like, there's more cake somewhere else. And he was like a bear, wandering bear.
That was unexpected. And I know we should expect the unexpected, but that was one I did not expect.
Expectingly.
Yeah,
like they were just kind of annoyed with Chris Kattan for walking out sort of when he did. He was kind of like, listen, I'm okay. I kind of like you guys still. It's all good. It's all good. I felt like that kind of energy from Chris Kattan here in this finale.
Okay.
And that's all. It was sort of unsatisfying. I drafted him first overall, guys. To say I'm disappointed is an understatement. And
Dude,
on the
I told you.
You told me, but I wanted to believe. I wanted to believe in like the night at the Roxbury. I wanted to believe in all of like the legend, like of
what is love, Dave?
What is love?
Oh Lord,
baby, don't hurt me.
Baby, don't hurt me. Don't hurt me no more.
Makes no sense.
It does make no sense. You're right. I don't really. They never explained why he left. That was the one thing that bothered me. Like, why did he leave the game? Like
he didn't want to play anymore. I think
he had like personal issues. He's like, "What's going on with my father-in-law? I want to check in on that." Oh, what do you mean I can't go? This sucks.
Or maybe he's like,
then don't cast him. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I feel like they need to find. They have to have a better like vetting system to figure out who's gonna be able to like last in the game and who won't.
They can't find 11 people.
I feel like you should have to go to like Big Brother boot camp before you actually go on to Big Brother.
So would you prefer if Austin came back and played Celebrity Big Brother?
Like Austin, like
Judas?
Would he be a celebrity, you think? Like, would he count?
He's a professional wrestler on a major promotion.
I would accept him, like as much as a figure skater.
I think Frankie Grande could get away with being a Celebrity Big Brother too. I know. But I think he could come back and play Celebrity Big Brother too.
There's like this blurred line. Like, what does it mean to be a celebrity player versus a non-celebrity player?
Well, Christmas isn't a celebrity, right?
Like, we've never had Celebrity Survivor.
No, that would be
celebrities on Survivor.
Yes, right. But they've never had it. They've never separated the two. The segregation. Why the segregation? Why not have them integrated?
Do you know what they should do on Survivor? Is do one tribe of no celebrities and one tribe of celebrities.
Survivor, celebrities versus nobodies. Joe Schmoes.
Yeah. Celebrities versus Joes and girls. Yeah. Joes and Joeys.
Joe Millionaires versus Joe Schmoes. Let's go.
I could see Probst getting behind that theme, although they're going away from themes. It's just numbers now. For the next 10 seasons, I think it's just going to be numbers.
Which I don't necessarily have a problem with.
No, Yeah, it is. It doesn't always need a theme, you know.
Yeah.
But anyway, let's get back to Big Brother.
Big Brother. Okay, I guys wanted to talk about our draft and the fact that it ends up being Sean who wins this draft overall.
I would have picked Misha if she was still on the board.
She was 5th overall. You didn't pick that high. You picked quite late. So
I know, and I would have picked Misha. Misha was a definite lock. And if you go back to the video of that night, you'll see once Misha is picked, I'm a little disappointed.
So
but,
Sean's ends up taking this. She's taking it the 5th overall. Todrick, Jeff at 3rd overall with your runner-up. So not a bad pick at all.
No, I guess I didn't see the Cupcake go, dominating this game the way she did, but good for her.
Right. Like who do you lay the blame to in terms of the dominance of Misha Tate and her sort of...
I would say Carson. Like, I think Carson was the one that really screwed up the whole game. And I think it's kind of ironic that he got America's favorite player, because I think he really screwed up the whole dynamic of the house. He had no idea how to make sure that there was two sides. And it wasn't just him, but like Todd too. Todd was another player where like they kept wanting to side with like, Misha and like her side of the house, those players. And then they kind of like, got to a point where it's like, oh, okay, we actually have to be opposed to you. And it was too late by that point.
Right.
They kept losing.
Carson was evicted on day 24, which is only 5 days ago.
Right. And like the whole time they were trying to get him out. And at the same time, he was like not really... I don't feel like they had their head in the game properly. Him and Cynthia.
I agree completely. I feel like that Carson and Cynthia were they were playing like they were playing with 16 players. They were playing like they were playing in the early weeks of Big Brother. And all of a sudden, like they were like, oh wait, we're at a condensed season with only 11 contestants, and Chris Kattan walked out, so it's really 10 contestants. Yeah. And therefore we're done in 4 weeks. And we're on like every other night.
Someone called Cynthia a can of peaches, and she remained a can of peaches when she left. Just absolutely useless. Was not opened. Was just sloshing around in the house. Like, she was like, talk about a person with no actual impact on the game. She did not win anything. Right. The closest she's won was wasn't she gifted the Mon Wan.
I think the Mon Wan immunity.
Yeah, that was like the only thing.
Well, I agree with you that Cynthia went 11th overall in our draft. Well, Chris Kattan went 1st overall, so take this with a grain of salt. But the fact that Amanda had Cynthia, but Cynthia, like the fact that she got 3rd place in this game is quite fitting. I think that the 3rd place is kind of the go position. Often, sometimes it's like the most deserving player, sometimes it's the least deserving player. Quite the latter in this example in this season, where I think Cynthia was sort of a number for Carson. I think Carson misplayed a lot of moves here. He misunderstood the opposition. He tried to make alliances with his opposition in Misha and Todrick. Like, let's have a truce for 1 week and we'll get at the floaters. But that was very short-sighted. He should be going for the jugular in this season. Like, there's no other real alternative. And, and Cynthia was sort of a dud.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they convinced Carson to put up a pretty solid, trustworthy player in Shayna and get her out. He really screwed that whole week up, and it completely basically allowed Misha and Todrick to kind of sail the rest of the way. I mean, that was really the crossroads of the whole season was that week, and Carson kind of screwed it up in a big bad way. And so to me, I blame him kind of for the reason why Todrick and Misha had such an easy time. Todd was the only chance of kind of dethroning them, and he almost did it. He came so close on that movie poster, HOH.
I think the thing we fail to see sometimes in these seasons is that maybe there was other choices. We could dissect sort of the gameplay in a different way, because we could look at Carson's game, for instance, and say, well, he was aligned with Cynthia, but maybe the fact that he was aligned with Cynthia was stupid. or the fact that, obviously he couldn't see that Shayna wasn't in his, wasn't actually on his side and he turned against her. Obviously that's like the most egregious thing he did this season, but like I think
Cynthia
that
helped convince him though.
But like you could look at it the other way, say like, okay, like I think that like the thing I respected about Todrick's game was that he looked at Misha. She said she's a winner. She's here to compete, and if I attach myself to her star, I'm going to do well. And can you argue with the results here? Like that's exactly what he did.
Is she a winner though? Okay,
she won the season.
Well, she won a lot of competitions.
She won this season and this competition, but prior to this season, is she really a winner?
No, well, no. What I don't even know. I played the fifth on that question, but my premise here is that Misha was sort of like she was almost like on a mission. You could see that she was here to win this season, and exactly what she did. And I think that Todrick saw that, and I think that that is sort of a skill in itself to sort of identify that drive and to sort of ally yourself with that, in sort of to sort of even just advance your cause.
Yeah. And what you do in that instance, I think, Dave, is like I agree with what you're saying, but when he had the HOH and he tunnel focused on Todd, I think that was a mistake on his part. I think he should have tried to get Misha out when he had HOH.
Oh yeah. Like isn't that like is that maybe his like fatal flaw is that he was loyal to Misha to a fault, even though he was sort of like this despicable villain otherwise that no one liked?
I think if he sits beside Cynthia at the end, he wins. And so that, you don't think so, Jaemeel?
No way. That
I
jury,
agree with Jaemeel.
That
I
jury
don't
was
think Todrick
poisoned. He would have gotten 1 vote to 8 because everyone else would have still voted just to spite him.
Like, he would have got Misha. He would have got Misha or Cynthia's vote regardless.
Yes. If he voted out Misha earlier on when he was HOH, there would at least been like, I did this up to a point, and he would have had to work with other people during that time period, and I think his tone would have changed. But because he had Misha there, he's like the bully's like sidekick that just talks smack while the other person punches you in the mouth, because she was the hammer, right? And he was like the verbal sickle, just there cutting up people, right?
Let me ask you this, Jaemeel. If this jury had been sequestered, right, would it have been like sort of the slam dunk against Todrick? Would he definitely not have won? Or
it would have been closer. It would have been
much closer, right? A sequestered jury might have at least been divided on him, right?
Because the number one issue with the Celebrity Big Brother season, and the same thing that Daniel Reyes dealt with, is people can confirm what is true and what is not, right? Because if it's sequestered, it's your word versus other people. Carson would have still been on Todrick's side because he wouldn't been able to confirm. Cynthia, when she eventually get there, would have been the exact same. Shayna would come across as bitter. Chris would have still voted for Todrick because he felt when he left the game, he's like, respect still. He might have been angry with what he said, but he still respected his game. It wasn't until they were out, same thing with Todd, until they were out and they confirmed exactly what was being said, right? That's the reason why Todrick lost the game.
Like, okay, so for instance, like there was an interview with Lamar where I have it here, where they were talking to him and they were talking to him about like a conversation he had with Todrick. And one of the things here was like Lamar said, like, Misha's a beast. And, yes. So and he goes, I know, but Todrick goes, but I know, but in 2022, do you really want to help some blonde white girl get to the end?
Mm-hmm.
And Lamar said, the color of her skin doesn't matter. And then Todrick said, this ain't about that, though. And then Lamar says, then why do you bring it up? And he says, I'm just saying. And then like the conversation trailed off. And then Lamar said, what's the difference? They're both white, asking about Misha and Shayna. And then Todrick changed the subject. So like, I think like little things like that really rubbed certain players the wrong way, even in the house. Like kind of like trying to like strong arm people to like do what I want. And
bring up ridiculous reasons.
Yep.
Yeah, but yeah,
he had no problem. Todrick had no problem standing behind his best friend or one of his friends, Taylor Swift, right? But all of a sudden now, Shayna is the devil. You know, blonde
Right.
hair, white girl.
Miss
It's
USA.
like this, like he used whatever means necessary to try to forward his game.
Yeah, he was
Whether
just
it be-
trying. He was like reaching. He's like, "Will this stick? Will this stick?"
he was telling all the black people, hey, let's let's not work together, but let's also not vote each other out. There was a period of
Right.
time where people were believing that there could be a cookout kind of situation, right?
But like that's almost like all the women saying to each other, "Let's keep all each other safe and vote the guys." And they go, "Yeah, yeah, yeah." Like I feel like that, like a lot of that goes on. Like people like look for reasons to feel comfortable with the other players for whatever reason, whatever you think you have in common. And so it's going like I think that's just a kind of a natural human
But
thing that we all
Dave,
do.
the difference is you see that happen from time to time, but when you see a person consistently use that as their move, which is just like just trying to point people and using something consistently like that, that goes into, well, it's just kind of a game move to yo, I have questions about this dude's personality kind of thing.
Yeah, like okay, listen to this. What Lamar said. A couple quotes here that I think is really shows you how kind of a deep and interesting guy Lamar is. He says, "quote It is kind of funny to me that a gay black man would make references to race like that. I still can't really figure that part out. My grandmother was born in 1923 in Athens, Georgia. The first thing that I can remember her telling me is you never judge anyone by race, color, creed, or gender. So I couldn't relate to what he was saying. It just goes against everything about how I was raised by my grandmother and in the streets. You learn how to be loyal at all times and be transparent in life is what gets you through things. It's so easy to play that game and be a snake and be greedy. It is not like I can detach emotion from competition. It is just tough for me to make that a way of life." So I think that Lamar's like as much as he's kind of a goofball on the show, I just think he's like actually a really intelligent
Who's
person.
Julie? Who's Julie?
Yeah.
Right. Somebody I should know.
He's a big goof, but I think he's at the same time a really thoughtful person.
Yeah,
Wait,
like
you mean the diary rooms on the TV show?
Right.
No, honestly, Dave, Jeff, if you all were put into a situation where you're not necessarily attuned to what's going on, right? You might come across as a goof when it's broadcasted across the world, but doesn't, say anything about your intelligence or your ability to interpret things, right? Obviously, he was way above his head in terms of this game and how this game worked, right? But when you do, like, he was very introspective about how he was perceived and what he really wanted out of the show. It's not like he made any qualms about like, I'm here for this noble purpose. He's like, selfishly, hey, I'm doing this because I want to get my ex-wife back and I miss her.
That's right.
This is my public apology tour.
Pretty much. And I think he wanted to show her like I'm clean and I'm not going to go back to being like, whatever broke them up. I think he was just trying to say like I've gotten past that, and like he was trying to show it, to
That's the thing about LO.
The one thing about LO, he does not lose.
Except at Big Brother Celebrity
and in marriage.
Yeah, right. I think with Lamar, he's just a very interesting guy, and I think it was great for him to kind of call Todrick out that way, because I think Todrick went too far with a bunch of different players here.
Yeah, and that's the unfortunate part too. It's
because like, he was entertaining.
Yeah. Did you get what tattoo?
Lamar Mamba. I'm guessing he got Mamba mentality.
Yeah, he got like a Mamba probably,
or like a snake.
Because of Kobe.
Yeah, because of Kobe. Right, which is super cool. Like I think that was, and he's like got it today, which I thought was really interesting that he shared that before he put his key in.
Like, who will you really remember from this season? Is it going to be Lamar?
I think it's hard not to remember Todrick, and I think for sure probably Lamar.
And what do you remember? Like Lamar, like to me, Lamar is like almost like a Donnie kind of a character who's kind of like this endearing sort of character who you just kind of like, it's a good soul, somebody you can connect with. And then you have sort of like this natural sort of mastermind in Todrick, but also sort of like corrosive and sort of ultimately toxic. And then Misha is just kind of the ultimate competitor, just wants to win, and you're just, is driven and sort of is respectable, the threat all the way, going to wear that target on her back to the end with no sort of reservations about it. I don't think it's going to be Todd Bridges. I don't think that's who I'm thinking of.
No, you know what? I think this did well for him, because at the very least he can say, hey, I was in the cultural zeitgeist, people are aware of me, especially a younger generation. I'm not just the dude from the What Show, right? Like,
true, it was the
I
best
know
thing that
idea.
ever happened to Todd Bridges, but will I remember him specifically because I didn't know him before this?
It depends on what he does next, though.
I had no idea who Todd Bridges really was. I knew with different strokes. I knew Gary Coleman. I never watched that show, so I didn't know who he was.
Okay.
So that was, I'm a little bit young for that show. But
me too, Jeff. I don't remember it either.
Okay, like I never watched a single episode.
I wouldn't necessarily say that you're both of you are a little too young, or I think
I'm 6 years older than Jeff too, right? So
I don't think that's the barrier that kind of prevented you from.
No, I watched. Wait, what do you suggest was the barrier?
I'm not trying to beat around the bush. Let's be honest here. There's some shows culturally that people watch versus others. Like if I make a reference to Overton and shoot. Okay, Overton and not Maxine, but like let's say two characters, Overton and Maxine. Do either of you know what show I'm referring to?
No.
How about Braxton? Braxton,
is that right? Empire
and Jamie. Do you either of you know what show that's from?
No.
Those shows, both in the 90s, right? One was Living Single, and the other one was the Jamie Foxx show.
Oh, I never watched Jamie Foxx show. I saw a couple episodes.
Which is fine. Which is fine. But culturally, that would be a show, right, that was more attuned to a specific type of demographic versus one that's more broad.
Absolutely.
Right? So you not knowing who Todd Bridges is okay, right?
But why do I know who Gary Coleman is?
Because Gary Coleman was a pulp culture icon.
He like sort of like eclipsed the show itself.
Yeah.
Right.
Todd Bridges didn't have a character on The Simpsons.
Right. Maybe that's why I know Gary Coleman was. But like also I think Gary Coleman was on Hollywood Squares quite a bit.
He was on a ton of stuff, and like he was in movies, right?
Right. He
like
was. He was in Dirty Work, wasn't he?
I think he was. When Lisa Wenshaw was on Survivor, right? Did you all know who she was?
No, I did not.
Right?
I didn't watch that show either.
I watched.
What do you say? We're gonna remember Todd Bridges for the season of anybody?
No, that's not what I'm saying. Is that people are put into there's crossover individuals, and how a crossover works is there needs to be a spark that causes them to cross over. Now, depending on what Todd does, this could be a crossover moment. Next thing you know, he's on like This Is Us, and he's on a big show and he becomes a main cast member. Who would ever thought like 6 months ago, right? Todrick probably thought that, hey, me being on Celebrity Big Brother, I have a niche audience. If I can cross over as this dynamic, great player that has personality, I can, who knows where I'll end up be. I can be on like the consultant for This Is the 90s or whatever MTV spinoff Paramount garbage reality show talking head type of thing goes on, right? You never know. It's crossover. Moran is probably going to get a whole bunch of stuff off of this, and she was barely on the show.
Yeah.
Who? Mariah?
Yeah. Never narrowed her name.
Mariah. What name does he say, Jeff?
Moran. But I think with Mariah, yes, I agree. Like she'll probably be on some panel. Like I'm surprised she did this during the Olympics because that's you think be her wheelhouse to go do commentary or whatever. Like that's her thing. Right?
That's like when she needs to be tweeting.
Right.
Like that's key Twitter season.
If CBS ever has any type of figure skating, coverage,
right?
Guess who's going to be a guest panelist?
Right.
Yeah. And
because she has a contract. She has a contract with them, technically.
Yeah.
Especially if it's CBS, is doing.
She has a resume.
Yeah.
with
No,
them.
for sure. She has a resume, big BB resume. She went outside.
Yeah, Mariah. All right, let's get
What's
to
Chris
Mariah quote.
Kirkpatrick looking to get out of this?
Chris
He-
Kirkpatrick?
He wanted to be on the show.
Yeah, he's a fan.
What
He's
is
a-
love?
That's the other Chris. I'm sorry.
You need to buy for Chris Kirkpatrick.
Hey, baby, come on.
Oh god, instinct. Yeah, it was kind of interesting to see like certain I thought they actually had a good mix of like B celebrities in this season because like some of these people kind of do cool stories. Like I think Chris Kirkpatrick has a very interesting like origin story that he was telling about like how he started in sync and stuff.
And how he met like Justin Timberlake. He like called him
Right.
out one day. He's like, "Hey, I'm Justin Timberlake. Want to make a band?" And he was like, "Sure." And then it was like all of a sudden it was an
Can I
insult
bring
with Justin-
JC?
Yeah. Can I bring JC? Okay.
Okay. All right.
Well,
We
yeah.
need
I know that's fast. Let's go.
we need a baritone guy. Okay, you know some guy named Joey. All right, that sounds good.
He's the fat one, right?
right.
Joey's not fat, folks. Come on.
He's tall.
Yeah.
It's Fat Tone.
Right. Fat Tony. Okay.
Aren't
Yeah, go
you
ahead,
aren't you excited for next season?
Okay, is Jerry O'Connell gonna be on it? That's my other question for the group tonight.
How is he not on it? Right? Like, if he's this big of a fan that he was like demanded Julie interview him. I mean, how is he not on?
Jerry O'Connell?
Yeah, Jerry O'Connell. Yeah.
Yeah, Jerry O'Connell.
Maybe-
Amanda was like, I loved him in
Sliders?
Sliders. Yeah.
Or in My Secret Identity.
No, Sliders. She was like, I was the biggest
This is
fan
better
of Sliders.
than my imagination. This is more than a dream come
I just
true.
remember him as the chubby kid from Stand By Me.
No, he's from My Secret Identity. That is his definitive role. With he was Ultraman, and he's Captain Jack Ransom, if anything.
I will create a race of ransomites.
He's really good on Star
Lower
Trek.
Decks.
On Lower Decks, yeah, he's awesome.
Yeah.
He
Gary
seems like,
Mitchell was an ant, and I am a lion.
he seems like such an awesome, like genuine guy. You know, like he just really seems like a good dude.
Honestly, I think he might be a little bit too big for Celebrity Big Brother.
Are you also from Hawaii?
Is he more famous than anyone in this house?
No, I don't think so. I think Lamar Odom is the most famous. I always feel like the athletes come with a different level of celebrity.
I kind of want to see them put more actors in the show because I do think that they get to a point where it's just like, how many actors did they have? It was like one. It was Chris Kattan, and does he even really?
And-
I guess
and
he counts.
Todd Bridges.
and Todd Bridges. Yes,
There's
and
always
Todd
like
Bridges.
these like washed up celebrities. How washed up are they? How notable were they even in their prime? And sort of like Chris Kattan, and then like if they're too famous or too wealthy, like this like exercise of going through Big Brother is just beneath them or just like not even worth it, right? So it's just like
That's why I said before, and I said this many weeks ago, they need to keep track of who's like on the fast track, right, in Hollywood and get them there because they're still kind of iffy. You don't know if it's going to hit. Like if you were able to get like the cast of Cobra Kai, right? Or members from Cobra Kai.
I wouldn't
or-
know the cast of Cobra Kai.
It doesn't
That's-
matter. Like you try to like pair it up with the release. So let's say, for example, you got like one member from Cobra Kai. You know it's coming out in December, right? And
Yeah.
you get them for the show because they film it in advance. Like they're filming it now.
If they can
Right?
correspond like their promotional dates with their gameplay. Yeah.
Yeah,
sure.
I don't- like think about some of the people that they used to get on like Celebrity Apprentice. They had like Meatloaf, R.I.P. They had like Brett Michaels and Gary Busey. They had all these like really eccentric people they would get, but pretty big. I would say, like if
Are you
if they
saying
got-
like Jeff, is there like sort of an expectation from the public at large if you're gonna do celebrity anything,
yeah.
get like a certain level, so at least a B celebrity.
Yes.
Like if once you're into the C, D, E, F ranks, like this gets a little ridiculous.
It gets like because I feel like Todrick would have been a better person to put on the regular show,
But how do you define celebrity in this decade, in this year, in 2022, and beyond, because like, you know, it's not, isn't like the old days where there were 3 networks and there was only so many movies that came out every year. And there was like, being a celebrity used to be more exclusive. And now with YouTube and everything else and TikTok and anything else that comes along, celebrity is a whole different game.
Todrick can't be on regular Big Brother because he's appeared on too many other reality shows.
What else has he been on?
Drag Race, American Idol.
Was he on American Idol?
Yeah, he was on American Idol.
Did he do well?
Singer?
I don't know. Like anything after like season 8 doesn't count as American Idol.
Right. After Simon Cowell left, it doesn't count.
Yeah, but he was still on it, right? He was on Drag Race. That is an unfair advantage. Right?
I'm saying
it isn't like
so wasn't Carson involved with that show too?
He was on Drag Race as well.
As like
I'm
a judge,
saying
though?
like get some like
And
get
Queer
Guy
Eye.
Fieri. He'd be great to throw in that house. Get you know what I mean, like eccentric people. You know,
But the only way to get like celebrities of that magnitude is to have massive amounts of cash for a charity that they can write off or something like
You
that.
split
like
the
that.
money. Well, no, or you double the money. It is $250 to you, $250 to a charity of your choice.
that'd be kind of cool. If they
Right?
did
You have to
something
make
like
it
that.
lucrative enough. So I think if you want to get to that point, you sort of have to build something. It has to become sort of a popular thing, and then you have to build on top of that. But is this Big Brother celebrity, as it stands, a good enough product to sort of build momentum on or not?
So just to also reply, I'm going to answer your question, Dave, plus reply to your earlier statement. Celebrity Apprentice, when it was on, was coming off the heels of The Apprentice, which was a massive show.
Right. I
Big
remember.
Brother is not as massive, close to the proximity of the cultural zeitgeist that The Apprentice was. So people knew about The Apprentice, like celebrities, regular people knew about The Apprentice, right? Big Brother is a niche audience and has been for a long while.
And it's
Right,
got
and
eyeballs.
an
I guess,
enduring
you know.
one. When you think about the fact that it airs like 3+ nights a week, especially in the celebrity
prime
season,
time.
they give a lot of prime time to this show. Not just on CBS, but also on Global. Like Global chooses to cover this in Canada, like all over. So you don't even have to have cable to watch this.
As much as as the Canadian aspect appeals to me personally, one, Canada doesn't count, right? 2, right? This show is a show that draws viewers to sign up to Paramount Plus. So let's say you get 50,000 viewers. If you can convert even half of that to subscribers and you can tie it 1-to-1, that is an investment that you can accept, especially during a lull period like this, where 1, the show is cheap, right? 2, they probably sell advertisement in bulk, right, for during this show, right? And 3, it draws subscribers to it. So yeah, you could put in another cop or medical show, but those shows, especially if they're successful, also cost a lot of money, right? Where you can put this in during the Olympics, mind you. During the Olympics, they specifically put this, right?
Compete with the Olympics. They even got an Olympian. To compete
No,
with the Olympics.
you don't compete with the Olympics. You lose to the Olympics, right? And you put stuff in so you can at least have counter programming. That's what it was.
Right. This was just to like hold some ground.
Yeah.
Yeah, because there's going to be people that are barely going to watch the Olympics and want to watch a Big Brother, like not everyone likes sports, so
what big movie released during the Olympics?
I don't think there was one. Yeah,
No, it wasn't.
Because right, when is Batman coming out? After the Olympics. When is Turning Red coming out? After the Olympics.
Everything big's coming out after the Olympics.
well, which makes sense because everyone's home watching the Olympics.
Even
You
the
put all your
invasion
ads,
of Ukraine's coming after the Olympics.
right?
It
Yeah,
has to wait.
even Putin waited. Yeah. So I agree. Yeah, everyone's watching TV during that time. So yeah, I guess. But like at the same time, like I watched more Big Brother than I watched the Olympics. So because the Olympics wasn't that great this year. It was very like there was no fans and it was just kind of lame. Like I didn't really want to watch it most of the time.
But you can't retroactively know that, hey, we should put in, we don't have to punt this month we can actually put in some content because people don't care about this specific Olympics, right? That was a decision that was made more than 6 months ago when they started up production for this show. So
yeah. I really like, how are we going to compete with the Olympics this winter? I know. Let's get Julie Chin Moonves, and we'll get her to host like a rapid fire season of Big Brother, where we'll have like 20 episodes in 23 days.
They had Survivor in the can, and they're like, we're waiting until after the Olympics.
Yeah, Survivors and after the Olympics thing.
Yeah. So I just, and going to your question about how to get actual celebrities to go, I did mention the half and half, but I strongly suggest, like, hey, let's think about how we're doing it. Let's not get 3 housewives. Let's get some up and coming comedians, right?
Right.
You tell me you can't $250,000. You're getting a whole bunch of comedians salivating, to get on there.
So. Even
right?
$50,000 for runner up.
They would love that, right? As opposed, you get some low-level indie wrestlers, right? Like who's working many times for a hot dog and a handshake, right?
Yep.
They can be well enough. It could be a retired wrestler that, like Virgil, he's charging people.
Virgil, Vincent.
Why not? Like,
yep. No, yeah, I think ex-pro wrestlers would be really good because like they're good at entertaining. That's what they.
Plus, they're sad, so they have a story.
Sad. Yeah, they have a story.
I just feel like they can get better casting, but they just need to be more smart about it. I felt that there was some inspired choices. Going the MMA route is a good idea, but I felt also it was a little bit lazy. And once again, pro wrestlers, people who know how to talk and to understand about like promoting, ideas and concepts to the camera, it's a personality thing, which is great.
Right. Yeah, like I think that there was like when we were talking to the outsiders on our other podcasts, like the Star Trek podcasts about this, right? And they're like, who do you got? You got like Shayna Moakler. You think that's a celebrity we care about? She was on play.
I do feel like when the cast was like, sort of watching the first episodes, and like I was like, Amanda's a big Real Housewives person, and she's like, oh, I know who that is. Oh, I know who that is, and I get why they cast that way because I think Amanda represents the average Big Brother.
And there's a lot of viewers that she would,
I think if you're watching TLC, the Women Network, or Slice, chances are you're going to watch Big Brother. And I think they know that. Like they do all the metrics and the crossovers. So that's why I think they do what they do.
So so next year it's a 90 Day Fiance. It's going to be the guy with no neck.
Yes. I'm surprised there hasn't been a 90 Day Fiance player.
It's coming. It's coming. Get ready, Dave. Get ready.
like if they had like somebody from Pawn Stars on there, I think that could be fun.
Chumley would have been perfect.
Yeah, you get Chumley on this show. I think
Joker. Get an Impractical Joker.
We're getting a comment here by Ren. She's saying, I want Elizabeth Smart in the Big Brother house. Now, for those who don't know, Elizabeth Smart was the person that was abducted by a guy named Brian David Mitchell when she was 14. And
is that the thing in Utah?
Yes, that was the thing in Utah.
Yeah, that was big when I was like in high school. I remember that, Elizabeth Smart, and then like she was like abducted for many months, and then she escaped eventually.
What was the girl that was convicted of murder in Italy and then got off? Amanda something?
Ooh, I don't know if I know that one off the top of my head.
Amanda Italy.
She says a
Amanda
sober
Knox.
Wendy Williams. Who's Wendy Williams?
Amanda Knox. Put Amanda Knox on the
Wendy Williams. Oh Lord, Wendy Williams is like a media mogul. She's like Oprah but trashier.
Oh, Wendy Williams. Oh, shit.
How immediately you knew who I was talking about.
The worst. Any woman from The View, throw them on the show.
Well, not Whoopi, or
not
Barbara.
Whoopi.
Elizabeth Hasselbeck,
Joy Behar.
Sure. Throw them all. Like throw like a whole tribe of
No,
the View.
Whoopi's too
ladies
good for
in.
that. Whoopi's too good for that.
She's.
What's
a
the
bigger name than
Canadian
all
version
the
of the
women.
View? Isn't it like the Talk, or is it something like along those lines?
Breakfast television.
There's a Canadian version like
Put
that comes on.
Sid Cesaro
Princess Xero on Celebrity Big Brother Canada.
and he would have like a massive rant for like 2 minutes. And then he'll get the what's it called? They'll play the
How you doing, Todrick Hans?
I'm doing good. Just living the dream.
yeah.
I wonder if they'll ever do a Celebrity Big Brother Canada. I won't be surprised. There's
Okay,
already
but like, how low do you have to get to be celebrity big? Because now you're talking Canadian celebrities.
I disagree.
Only famous in Canada.
I disagree. I think you would actually get better celebs.
What do you mean better celebs? Like,
Yeah.
why?
Okay, so you telling me you wouldn't be able to get one of the people from Letterkenny on the show?
That's not a better celeb.
You could get a Trailer Park Boy.
Wait, hold on a second. Time out 1 second. Dave, how dare you? Letterkenny pulls in numbers, not in just Canada, but worldwide.
I'm not a fan.
Worldwide.
I'm
You
not.
could get a Trailer Park Boy, I think.
A Trailer Park Boy would be acceptable.
Wait, what? It doesn't matter if you're a fan.
I'm blowing your mind, Jaemeel. I'm gonna
It
do
doesn't
it.
matter if you're a fan. I'm not a real housewife, but I can understand the appeal for demographics and demo.
I don't need to show all this respect towards Letterkenny. Like, I don't need to bow towards Letterkenny. Show the curtsy towards Letterkenny, and then their great numbers that they do on the ratings.
A really big shoe.
Yeah, pretty big shoes to fill over there.
You can get probably one of the Broken Lizards dudes to show up too. All right.
The Broken Lizards. Okay, this is not getting better. Like, come on, like at least get Bret Hart. Get Bret Hart or somebody, like a real Canadian celebrity.
Bret Hart should not be competing in any type of thing.
No,
He
he
needs
might
to-
have a stroke.
Right.
Yeah,
No.
like-
Bret
yeah.
Hart
He
cannot.
can do it. He's the best there is, the best there was, best there ever will be. Listen,
No. Wait, are you hating on Broken Lizard?
I don't even know what it is.
They're not Canadian, are they?
They're not Canadian, but I bet you can get them.
They would be good on any. Yeah, if they did anything.
What about like the lead
Celebrity.
guitarist from Tragically Hip? Can we get him?
No.
See, yeah, I don't
But
think
yes,
he would be.
but
You could
okay,
get them.
But like, okay, sure, you can get him. All I'm saying is that I think that people will be more willing to, like, you can get people from the UK most likely that would go on Canadian Big Brother Celebrity versus US.
I would love
Because-
that if they just did a whole season of Big Brother. It's all British people, but in a Canadian Big Brother house, and we're making the rules, and we get to play with these British people.
Gerard Depardieu.
Yeah, Right, like, how can we? Yeah, just throw all these British people into a house and see how they coexist with each other, and then we'll throw weird things at them as we go.
Some Australian folks too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, a couple of Australians, just like Big Brother Canada 6. Is that the one where they threw Tim and what's her name?
Yeah, from the UK. But those shows were extremely popular in their countries too.
Oh, so like externally, like England
Yeah.
and Australia was like, oh, we have a sort of a proxy here.
Yeah.
Okay.
I just have a feeling that there's a little bit of scum on Big Brother Celebrity US. But anyways, okay. We've gone so much off time.
We've gone off tangent here.
Okay. So I want to ask you all, what are your favorite moments? I'm going to start with one of my favorite moments from this episode.
Sure. Favorite moments. Good segue.
Okay, is when Misha won and she and Todrick both came out to the confetti, and not a single person in the jury stood up to greet them at all.
Yeah, that was your favorite moment. Yeah, like that was yeah.
I enjoyed that. That was good.
Was kind of like as good as when Mickey got that response coming out of his season.
I like the little burn that Chris Kirkpatrick did, where he's like, "I'm doing this for my son, and I'd have it no other way." And I was like, "Oh, that was a nice burn."
My favorite part of the season was Lamar, just him like, "What's happening? Like, you mean the DR goes on the TV show? I thought it was just like a personal counseling session." And just like everything he said, like. Around he's like, who's Julie Chen? Who's that? And this is after he's been in the house for 2 weeks. He doesn't know Julie Chen. No, he's just like out of it. So I
thankfully no one told him. Is like, hey, do you know Allison Grodner? He's like, who's that?
I enjoyed Lamar at his most incredulous. That was my favorite part.
Okay.
Jeff.
Yeah, no, he was fantastic. I think they definitely hit some like home runs with certain people on this season. I thought that were really interesting. They were definitely like good for the show, but at the same time, all right, stop it with like we don't need the show 3 times a week, like or whatever it is.
Yeah, it was like 5 times a week at some points.
It was getting ridiculous.
2-hour episodes where nothing was really shown.
Yeah, it was like 2-hour episodes where nothing happens, and we're just like kind of going. We want to like follow a Big Brother season here, but this is like something else. This is like a different animal.
Yeah, like I also like. Did you guys watch the recap episode?
Yeah. It was actually one of the better episodes of the season, I thought.
Yeah, like they left out all this good stuff in the regular episodes and put it in the recap episode, which nobody usually watches. Like, what were they thinking? Like, I didn't understand any of that. I think that the show needs to like, figure out how to get tighter.
They need to. I think they need to shake up the show. They need to shake up the production staff. I think that they're kind of stuck in this trope of like they spend a lot of the time on the show, especially in the data room sessions, wasting time on like. Whoever wins, like gets the most points in this competition, wins the HOH. I'm like, I know you've already explained that to me 3 times. Tell me what the hell's going on in the game. What's going on in your head when this competition, if anything.
This is why Survivor outperforms Big Brother because, like, it's very much like we're gonna tell you. I like this comment from Red. My favorite moment was the end credits, mainly because I needed to get up and empty my bowels in a non-toxic environment. Burn.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, it was definitely by the end you could feel it was palpable, the toxicity coming, especially towards
a lot of people did not hug Todrick. It was great.
Yeah. How quickly can 11 people come to hate each other? Well, the answer is 28 days or even less, I guess.
Just hate one person. I think they all liked each other by the end, except they all agreed that Todrick sucked.
Yeah, they're like, screw this Todrick guy, he's not winning. Not like that.
Yeah, pretty like the fact that Cynthia would have won over Todrick. Just
Cynthia did not deserve to win this,
but she would have won. Apparently, like I think.
And how would we feel then if Cynthia had come out the winner tonight? Would we feel better about it or worse?
I said off the top, I didn't care if Misha won. I just want Todrick to lose.
How do you think Amanda would have felt if Cynthia won, Jeff?
I don't know.
A win is a win.
Because she had Amanda in the draft, but it was like it was the last pick, and Cynthia was sort of assigned to her. Like, this goes to you, Amanda.
Do you think Todrick would have taken Cynthia to the end over Misha? Do you think that was a possibility had he won the HOH? No, he would have taken Misha.
I wish. I wish.
No,
he's applying.
Your question again, Jeff?
Sorry. Do you think Todrick would have taken Cynthia to the end had he won the final HOH? Do you think he would have cut Misha if he had the power? Do you think he knew he was? Also, do you think he knew he was going to lose the votes?
I don't think so. No,
you don't think
but I think I also don't think he would have cut Misha.
Then, like, what was the point? What was the point of playing this crazy cutthroat game if he wasn't willing to like pull the trigger on his biggest threat?
I agree, none. Like I think
because
that's
he was referring to Derek and Cody and how they took it, like he was invoking these things.
He was the Cody of this Derek and Cody.
And yeah, and then he would also say things like I mentioned before about like you don't want to give it to like a blonde white woman or whatever. But then he takes Misha to the end, like he didn't take her, Misha took her. But you know what I mean? Like he was mostly aligned with her. So his whole like race thing was kind of like not.
it was
Everything
just
he
a
said around
tool.
that was
just manipulation, right?
Yeah.
But like, at the same time, like he didn't seem to like he never really practiced what he preached ever. And so I found his whole kind of game and his motivations kind of confusing.
So this is what happens when people like watch the game but don't think and understand the game, right? They love good TV, so they're like, I'm gonna make good TV, right? But I'm also want to win the game. Look, chances are, if you're really good TV, you ain't winning the game.
Yeah,
right.
that's a good point.
right. Unless you are like a 1 in a million player like Dan Giesling or Will Kirby, right? Or even Vanessa Russo was entertaining without opposition, unfortunately, that she had, right? But like chances are, and I like I this just bothers me so much, or it's like it's in my brain and I think about this all the time. And that is just the lack of self-awareness that some people have. Like I'm like I would consider myself smart, not super smart. But if I make a decision, I will question that decision. That's just how I am built. I'm like, am I making the right decision? I would want to rethink and analyze my situation because I don't want to make a bad move. But I see these people just have so much ultimate faith in their actions and their moves, and like are so assured in that this is going to be perceived a certain way, and it's like you're totally off the mark and you never really even saw it coming or even questioned it, and it just astounds me. It just blows my mind, right, that they don't have the foresight to see that, hey, maybe this might be perceived a certain way. And that's the issue with Todrick. Todrick did not see. He thought like, I played a great game and everyone's gonna
just reward that. So
reward that.
He had sort of a Russell Hantz blinders on kind of approach.
But at least Russell Hantz was in a game where people don't go home and see what you said.
right.
Yeah.
So Todrick was playing Big Brother proper, if anything, not celebrity Big Brother.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I agree. I think he watched a lot of the greats play, the regular Big Brother, but yeah, did really clue in that these people get to go watch the show.
And that's a flaw. That's a flaw. That is a objective flaw you can put on Todrick's game. I think that say this is why he didn't quite get it. He thought if he was a super fan, if you can even qualify that, which I think there's a legitimate argument to argue against it.
What other super fan do you know isn't at least like second guess themselves at the very least, right? You go down
Kirkpatrick.
He second guessed himself all the time, right? You go across any reality show. Shirin questioned herself all the damn time, right? It's this self-awareness and understanding that I don't want to look like a damn fool because I throw all my cards in the middle and say I got a full house, right?
Right.
And the person has like 4 10s or right, 4 9s.
Comment here is Todrick Hall is a white blonde woman. Proper black man plays the Wiz before the Wizard on a boss. Can you help break this down for me, Jaemeel? I'm not quite sure I follow.
Okay, you never heard of the Wiz?
Like from Seinfeld?
Okay, no, not from Seinfeld. I'm sorry. I'm not laughing at you because you don't know about the Wiz. Because once again, we talked about this cultural thing. The Wiz is an interpretation of The Wizard of Oz, a musical that was on Broadway and also had a movie. The movie had Diana Ross, had Richard Pryor, had Michael Jackson, and it has a different song list than The Wizard of Oz. It is something that a lot of members in the African American community is well aware of, right?
Okay.
Me personally, I don't like The Wizard of Oz. I have issues with the story as a whole. I don't like. There's only so many vigilante goes on a murdering spree movies that I appreciate. and Wizard of Oz isn't one of them.
Okay. All right. Well, thanks for breaking it down. Next comment here is Kathy Hillis. She's a super fan who never questions herself while playing the Big Brother game.
See,
Kathy.
Thank you for making me question myself when I said it. I see. I do leave the podcast and I'm like, did I say what I said? Like, it seemed so absolute.
Did I say what I think I said?
Yeah, it's like
I do that too.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, is there anything else to say about this season, guys?
No, I think that's pretty much it. I think we'll see next winter. We'll get right back into this. But for now, I think
well, we got a summer season coming up, Jeff.
And don't forget, summer, Big Brother, is right around the corner. We will see you all in just a few months.
Julie Chen, Moonves, sorry. She's got a good gig. Now she even has a winter gig.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Good for her. But
I'm Julie Chen Moonves.
Okay. So coming up on Super Mader Brothers is
Super Mader's podcasting. Well, we have Survivor coming up, guys. That will be coming up very soon.
This
Survivor.
is a season like no other.
A season like no other.
Oh, did you not hear the special voiceover artist that was being presented on the global feed for Survivor?
No.
Wrestling commentator, former wrestling and boxing commentator. What's his name? George Romano. He's a famous broadcaster. He does a lot of play-by-play. They now have him doing a couple of the voiceovers. It's an interesting change of events. I got some stuff in my hair.
Really?
Yeah. So
You are.
Oh, it's emergency. That's not the right one.
that is the right one.
Here's it.
It's Survivor. 18 new players take on the most dangerous version of Survivor ever seen.
So Dave, when you get a chance to, they have new commercials. Just a heads up. So we have Survivor coming up. We'll probably do a cast assessment.
Yeah, and Big Brother Canada as well.
Yeah, well, Big Brother Canada already released its cast already. It was advertised during the
Tonight's out. I was watching some of those commercials. Yeah, they were showing some of the people.
All right. So a cast assessment podcast is probably going to be coming up in the next week or so. And then we'll figure out our schedule for Big Brother Canada in terms of how we're going to cover it.
Yep. Yeah, we're not sure if we're doing every night or not yet, but we're going to try to cover as much as we can.
Yes. So stay tuned. We will let you all know exactly when we have that kind of figured out. But you know what? In the meantime, you could always look at our back catalog of other Big Brother Canada, Big Brother USA we did last year as well. So if you're looking on Facebook, if you're looking on YouTube, if you're looking on Twitch, just look in the back catalog. Lots of stuff to watch in the meantime. And in a week's time, for sure, you'll know exactly what we're going to be up to. But Super Mader Brothers doesn't just do reality television. We also do television, like The Serpent, and also
Westworld coming back. Jeff, that was like the first thing Jeff ever and I did on Super Mader Brothers podcasting was Westworld season 3. That's where it all began. And Westworld season 4 in the foreseeable future.
It's just around the corner. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it only took them 3 years to make the next season.
Next season of the show.
They really know how to keep your interest on that show.
They take their time on Westworld, but it's
the formula. We also do documentary. Jeff also did the Get Back, the Beatles anthology kind of documentary series, so you should check that out. That's also in the back catalog as well. We also do the MCU. So we started off with WandaVision and then went on to the Falcon Winter Soldier and Loki, Hawkeye, and just around the corner we have
Shang-Chi.
Shang-Chi, yes. Just around the corner we have Moon Knight, and just soon after that we would have Doctor Strange. Right? And then She-Hulk. So stay tuned for that. We're still questioning if we're going to do a Peacemaker kind of recap.
If you guys want to do it, I haven't binged it yet, so I will need you guys to drive the bus on that one. But
we can drive the bus. I don't think I've watched the most recent one, but I'm pretty caught up.
You mean
we're getting a question here? Can we all cover BB Ken in the nude? Are we nude or are the Big Brother Canada people nude? Is my question.
No, he's she or he. Sorry, Ren is a very not gender specific name.
Right.
Do it in the nude. Well, I'll let you know that underneath these clothes,
y'all need something to separate your stream from the 50
nude.
others that will be on the same time on YouTube. Well, maybe.
Might break some guidelines, but I'm all here for it.
Yeah. We're here to push boundaries.
Yeah. Expect the unexpected.
Expect the unexpected.
If Dave has a night out in the town like he did tonight, you might.
I did have a night on the town tonight. I'm like, it's post-pandemic. We're out in the new world, right? You know,
Dave. You know how I know that you had a time out in the town. You're not wearing like an ensemble.
Right.
You're right. I'm not. Oh, I am. I'm in gray mode today. I'm
getting
off the gray. Hello, hobbits.
He doesn't have his hat on, so that's why
he doesn't have a hat too.
Right. Expect the unexpected.
He has this spit curl going on, and he doesn't have his hat.
What a spit curl? I don't know about that.
It's the Mader cowlick.
It's a cowlick. It's a genetic trait. You know, here
the streets of Canada.
Yeah. Here on the streets of Canada, we got the cowlicks.
Yeah. We'll see what we can do, Ren.
Yeah. So we're working on it, Ren. So check out our Super Mader Brothers podcast scene. Also, Live Long in Podcast, our Star Trek themed channel where we talk about Star Trek all the time. Monday nights, Star Trek Enterprise. We've been watching every episode in order. Jody Simpson, Adam Woodward, and Kevin Millard and myself going through episode by episode. We just watched a fantastic episode called Dear Doctor, which featured Dr. Phlox. It was excellent. Check that out. Also, Deep Space Nine at 9 every Tuesday night. We're watching the next episode of Deep Space Nine. Last night was Trials and Tribulations. Next week will be what's the episode?
For he without.
Oh yeah, the Ryza episode. They're going to Ryza, and there's Jamal Haran. Check it out. And then on Thursday nights, Star Trek Discovery. Check out the newest episode over there with Ashley Millard, Michael Chan, and Adam
Discovery's
Woodward. Discovery's own Michael Chan, as he was on that show, and he's on our podcast. So recognize and check it out because we got the goods, we got the ins. A real Discovery cast member on our podcast.
And then we have Star Trek Radio Theater.
Night. Have fun over there, Red. Star Trek Radio Theater. We just did one recently. This past Saturday night, we did Looking for Parmak in all the wrong places, along with a terrific cast, the edited version to come. And coming up on March 5th, 2022, 9:30 p.m. Eastern, live. We will be doing a live read of Star Trek The Next Generation's first season episode, Hide and Q. Jody Simpson playing Q. Me playing Captain Picard. Steve Shives coming back to play Commander Riker. Jeff, you're going to be Lieutenant Junior Grade Lieutenant Geordi LaForge. Only a helmsman at this point.
There's no coolant leaks up on the bridge.
No coolant leaks. You are not even in charge of those. They are not in your department, Commander Riker. And then we got Discovery's own Michael Chan playing Commander Data. We got Jessica Chan playing Tasha Yar. Mott playing a Lieutenant Junior Grade Worf. We got a Dr. Beverly Crusher as played by Jane Mader. Kevin Millard played two versions of Wesley Crusher. One a little bit older and a whole different actor. And then we got Ashton Millard as our narrator. Terrific coming up on Star Trek Radio Theater. Also, you should check out our third channel. It's called Trivial Debates, a monthly channel where we argue about movie, TV, sports, and more in a game show format. Jeff Mader hosting Sunday, February 27th, 10 a.m. Eastern. Jaemeel Robinson, right from this own podcast, competing against a juggernaut, Q himself, Jody Simpson. We got Max Duda. Questions will range from anything from what's the most pathetic sports franchise to all kinds of great different topics. Check that out.
Speaking of which, Jaemeel, have you sent me your answers yet?
Nope.
Have either of the other two?
Yes,
they have.
The other two are in.
Yeah, okay.
I'm running my own race. I don't have to worry about their answers.
Yeah,
Okay.
chances that Jameel's gonna pick something they pick is remote anyway. So
Maybe for like one or two of them, but I'm my answers are usually I have to argue them well enough for them to win, as opposed to I pick the right one.
right, because some hosts seem to misinterpret the point of the game, where you're supposed to actually like listen to the arguments and then be objective. I think there's some bias out there. Jeff, will you be a biased judge or will you be objective as a co-creator
Bias.
of Trivial Debates?
I think the music question, if you put something stupid, he's gonna expect you to do a good job, or you're definitely not winning. So,
What's the music question?
What do you consider to be the best album of the 1980s?
Best album of the 80s. Well, okay,
you're wrong, Dave.
I'm wrong.
Sorry,
I'll just be
sorry.
the producer that day.
Sorry.
So I got it.
I thought you were gonna give an answer, and I was just preparing in advance.
I don't know what my answer would be. I guess Thriller.
You know
It's
what?
wrong.
Do you know what Jody's answer would be? Google what's the best album of the 1980s, and the top answer is Thriller. Okay, that's Jody's answer.
That Jody would go whatever the Google's most
yeah.
top 10 search. Yeah, that's usually Jody's move.
Which, yes,
He's like, listen, I got all the best arguments. I got the popular vote. It's over. You're done. And that's the Jody Simpson maneuver. So be ready, Jameel.
I've competed against Jody. I know Jody.
He's been very effective with that argument style. Okay. All right. I think that wraps it up. Also, check out Davin Skellhorn's podcast, Locutors of Trek, his Star Trek theme channel, and X-Men, the animated series rewatch titled X-Rated. Last night, he interviewed Julia and Eric Lewald, the executive producers, showrunners of X-Men, the animated series, the very podcast they follow. And so that was a great interview. I listened to the whole thing. It was excellent. And you should definitely check that out over on their channel. As well, my son, Eamon Mader, has his own podcast. Let's talk about fighting games. He has that on Spotify or wherever you get your audio podcast. A new podcast was just released on February 12th. He does that under his alias, Sam Jerka, which he does with his friend Sonic Smash Bro Seth and his other friend Paranoia. All right, Jeff, take us away.
Okay. Thank you for joining us here on Super Mario Bros. Podcasting. This has been another season of Celebrity Big Brother 3. We'll see you next winter when we cover Celebrity Big Brother 4. For all of us here, I've been Jeff Mader, joined by Dave Mader and Jaemeel Robinson. Expect the unexpected.
I'm Julie Chunboonvez. Love one another.
And be the
Good night.
Yeah.